Welcome, Vanakkam, Swagatham, Jai Hind. In this video, I addressed my thoughts particularly to the members of the Sangh Parivar, and within that, especially to the members of the BJP, and within that, if you like, its main driving forces, the Modi-Shah combined. Perhaps the most effective political partnership we have seen in our lifetime in Indian politics, the Modi-Shah combined. What is it that I have in particular to tell them and all their large number of followers? What I have to tell them is very simple. Please learn this lesson from the history of Christianity. And what is that lesson? That's precisely what I'm going to tell you. As all of us know, Christianity began as a very small sect, a reform sect within Judaism, in that very obscure and seemingly insignificant part of world geography called Palestine. At a time when the Jews were slaves or under political bondage, under the sovereign control of the Roman Empire. And in its beginning, Christianity, or the way of Jesus Christ, was very well defined. It was seriously concerned about the purity of its understanding and practice. It took the very rigorous, dauntingly demanding spiritual discipline very seriously. It zealously safeguarded its theological, doctrinal, and ethical purity, which is the foundation or basis on which St. Paul, when he addresses various churches, calls them the saints of Christ. He was not using kind of flattering phrase, a terminology of eulogy or mere praise, insincere praise. He was stating what was widely held to be a fact. In fact, the members of the early Christian communities all endeavored to be saints. A saint is one who is rigorously and unwaveringly committed to the purity of his understanding and practice of the spiritual discipline to which he belongs. And the early church deemed every one of its members saints. Today, of course, we look for extraordinarily talented people, very special people to try and canonize them. Such people are very few and far between. So we scour the landscape all over the world to see if there is one person who can be caught and canonized. But that was not the case in early churches. People took their life of faith very seriously. They practiced their spiritual discipline without any dilution and apologies. And they regarded each other as saints. And therefore, when Paul addressed members of the church as saints, saints of Ephesus, saints of Corinth, saints of the Roman church, saints of the Colossian church, etc., he was merely stating a fact. He was not exaggerating anything, as we are inclined to think today when we read such references. But what happened? From being a reform movement within Judaism, Christianity began to spread far and wide. As is widely believed, one of the 12 disciples of Jesus Christ, Thomas, who is of course now referred to as Saint Thomas, he was not known as Saint Thomas during his lifetime. He brought the good news, the message of Jesus Christ to India, and found acceptance, ready acceptance at that time. And that laid the foundation for Kerala Christianity. It's also believed that St. Thomas extended his mission to the Punjab, which in fact there are some people who believe that it was to Punjab that St. Thomas came first. And that's a matter of historical dispute, let that be. Likewise, Christianity was taken to the Western Hemisphere. When Christianity went to Africa, Christianity went to all parts of the world. It's become a global religion. Now, on the face of it, it looks a great achievement. What began as a very tiny reform movement in an insignificant part of world's geography, conquering the whole world and becoming the number one faith in the world. Today, of course, that status is now being disputed, and Islam claims to be the number one. I'm not interested in that dispute. Even if Christianity is the number 999, I couldn't care less, because I believe that the value lies not in the number or the rank on the global religion importance scale, but in the verity or truthfulness of the religion and the sincerity with which its members practice that religion and to what extent. So the consequence of the successful attempts to spread the way of Jesus Christ all over the world, making it a world religion, was also a very serious defeat. This is what in technical language is called a Pyrrhic victory. Pyrrhic, Pyrrhic victory. A Pyrrhic victory is a victory which is also a defeat. It's a great achievement which is also a great loss. It is going backward as much as going forward. It is as much a defeat as it is a triumph. So Christianity, through its vigorous program of world evangelization, church planting, etc., accepted a glorious Pyrrhic victory. It became a global religion, and in the process it ceased to be Christian. That's precisely the point that the Sangh Parivar needs to understand. Because when a religion goes into another region, it has to dwell within the framework of the culture that remains there, that is prevalent there. Culture is the primary thing. Religion is secondary to culture. For example, the kind of religiosity that develops within the primitive tribes will have all the primitive attributes of the culture of that region. The kind of religiosity, Christian religiosity that thrives in African countries partakes very strongly of the tribal spontaneity of the African people. And it's something beautiful to watch. But that tribal spontaneity has very little to do with the ethical core of Christianity, and therefore, for all its outward expression of joy, spontaneity, spiritual freedom, celebration, etc., African Christianity may be rather deficient in biblical ethics, which is an issue that should not be forgotten or sidelined. The same thing you will notice if you go to the northeastern region of India. The religion most common, or the predominant religion of northeastern states, is Christianity. Or at least in states like Manipur, even if Christians are not the majority, they are a sizable presence. In a state like Nagaland and Mizoram, Christians are the absolute majority. Now, the fact that Christianity is very widespread and various types, various traditions of Christianity, denominational Christianity are very active in this region, and the Christians in this region profess to take their religions very seriously, does not mean that their ethical life has anything to write home about. In fact, a very real thing about northeastern Christianity is that extreme religious fervor and extreme corruption can happily coexist. I only mentioned this. You can investigate more and more. I'm quite used to the northeastern states, and I can tell you from experience that people in this region are extremely religious, They're very vigorous Christians, zealous, passionate Christians, but they're as passionate about making money via corruption as they're about Jesus Christ. I'm not saying the Christians on mainland India are any better. What I'm saying is that depending on the culture of the local region, the flavor of Christianity will be decided. Now, when Christianity made Europe, the Western Hemisphere, Europe was the dominant figure at that time, its home, what happened was that the way of Jesus Christ got seriously modified by the dominant cultural acumen, cultural genius of the people of this region, which is the craving for power. I'm sure many of you would know that the foremost myth of the Western culture is the myth of Faustus. It's the story of a man who, in order to maximize his power, he was so addicted to power, so crazy about attaining and maximizing, absolutizing his power, that he resorted to unethical practices like necromancy, that is trading and trafficking with devils. The logic is that if you have devil for your assistants, then there is no limit to the power you can achieve, including the knowledge that you can acquire. And of course, Dr. Faustus, who specializes in this, ends up completely damned. And Christopher Marlowe, a great playwright of the 17th century, has written a classic of a play titled Dr. Faustus, that's based on the Faust myth. And I happened to lecture on Dr. Faustus, the play Dr. Faustus, when I was a member of the English faculty of St. Stephen's College. And the German genius of a writer, Goethe, if you want the correct German pronunciation, Goethe, or as the name is pronounced in Kerala, Goethe, has written a classic. It's titled Faust. It's a verse drama. If you're interested, you can read both Christopher Marlowe's version as well as Goethe's version. So the point is this, that Christianity, as it made the Western culture its home, got completely mixed up with the Western cultural genius of addiction to power. Whereas the Christianity of the East, the Christianity that's known as the way of Jesus Christ, has the cross for its emblem, which actually symbolizes the rejection of power, every form of power. In fact, the essence of the public ministry of the Lord Jesus Christ was to effect a paradigm shift from the foundation of power to love. Jesus came to establish the kingdom of love, and with all the implications that follow therefrom. And none understood it better than, and don't be surprised when I say this, Napoleon Bonaparte, who was one of the greatest geniuses history has ever seen, the geniuses of power. He said about Jesus, he said, Alexander the Great, Charlemagne and myself, we built our empires. But the days of our empires are numbered. But the empire of Jesus Christ will remain forever. Because our empires were built with the sword. His was built with love. And it has its foundation in the hearts of men and women. You can't possibly put it better than Napoleon has. Now, the real point I want to make for the sake of Sangh Parivar is this. The historical inevitable condition is, yes, you can expand. Yes, you can gobble up more and more. Yes, you can conquer more and more people, more and more groups of people, more and more regions, territories, languages, cultures, etc., races. But what happens? With each progress you make, with each step that you take into the life of other people, other cultures, other religions, your own purity gets compromised. There is a terrible price to be paid for expansion. You can never expand without diluting your authentic nature. In contrast, consider a race like the Jews. The Jews were geographically dispersed, they were in diaspora. But they didn't try to become a global religion, they didn't try to convert others, to enlarge their community, and to become numerically preponderant or great. They try to hold on to their own spiritual territory, and they try to maintain their purity. They knew that their purity can be maintained only if they remained confined to themselves. But that has got its own problems. Since that is not my immediate theme, I will not deal with it. But unlike the Christians, the Jews were not keen on proselytization. They were rather committed to maintaining the purity of their race, the purity of their religion. Not so Christians. As a result, Christianity got completely altered, so much so today Christianity has become a virtual contradiction of the way of Jesus Christ, though Christians are mostly unaware of this. Now let's come to the Sangh Parivar, and particularly BJP. In order to consolidate its political control over India, what BJP under the smart leadership of the Modi-Shah combined has done and is doing is to headhunt, poach from other parties. Large number of corrupt political leaders from other parties, particularly the Congress, have been admitted into the BJP. But not only from the Congress, but from other parties. In fact, the most vulnerable members or leaders of other political parties who wanted to remain unharassed by ED, CBI, etc., were easy pickings for the BJP. But what has happened on account of introducing them into the sacred precincts of the Sangh Parivar, the political temple of BJP? BJP, as the political manifestation of the Sangh Parivar ideology, has only succeeded in diluting the strength, the authenticity, the energy of the Sangh Parivar ideology. So much so there is serious confusion as to what the BJP really stands for. Take, for example, the most core Sangh Parivar ideological conviction that members of the Muslim and Christian communities, insofar as they practice a religion the origin of which is outside of the Indian territory, or whose holy lands are external to the geographical limits of India, they cannot be citizens of India. Does the BJP believe in it, or has it abandoned that basic article of faith without which the Sangh Parivar cannot be itself? Does the BJP believe in the Hindu Rashtra? And is the BJP taking every step in consonance with the establishment of the Hindu Rashtra? What is its idea of the Hindu Rashtra? Is it Ramarajya as Gandhi envisaged? After all, Lord Ram is projected to be now the god of monotheistic Hindu religiosity, as it were. The reason why supreme importance is attached to the building of Ram Temple in Ayodhya, and the projection of Lord Ram as the foremost, if not the only god of India. Is that truly typical of the Sangh Parivar ideology? After all, the early ideologues of Sangh Parivar were not religiously enthusiastic. Some of them were atheistic people. They were not greatly excited about religion. Veer Savarkar was not. Moonji was not. Golwalkar was not. In fact, Veer Savarkar's great conviction was that if you talk about Hinduism as a religion, there is absolutely no scope for promoting pan-Indian Hindu unity. You have to shift from the foundation of religion to the foundation of culture if at all unity is to be forged in this country. So he actually advocated the dilution of the religious fervor and the relocation of the focus from religion to culture. Now, is that really what's happening today? What about the commitment to the caste system? Would BJP as a party stay committed to the caste system to which Sangh Parivar ideology is absolutely committed? So various tenets of the Sangh Parivar will have to be diluted and is being diluted or are being diluted in the interest of meeting the political expediency of growing into newer and newer areas at the expense of other parties. So much so, every regional party that has associated itself or collaborated itself with the BJP has ended up in grief. Ask any party that has had an association, a political association with BJP, whether it is Shiromani Akali Dal or Naveen Patnaik's party or any party for that matter, Shiva Sena, they've all been sucked dry. So when the politicians who are nurtured in other political visions, ideologies, etc., are admitted ready-made into the party, BJP, what happens to the sense of oneness, the ideological purity, cohesion, etc. of that party? It takes a heavy toll on the party. It actually activates serious demoralization of the BJP rank and file. And that is beginning to tell upon the party. It's no longer in the realm of speculation. The signs are already there. And the BJP could have learned it very clearly if they had regarded the history of Christianity from its origin in Palestine to its spread worldwide, globally, and the huge price the Christian faith has had to pay for it. So in this kind of undertakings, ultimately one ends up completely confused, wondering as to what is gain, what is loss, what is victory, what is defeat. And I'm afraid the BJP is in that state. So the custodians of this party, which has done eminently well, and my good wishes to them, time has come for them to sit up and seriously consider this question. What is the way forward? Can we go on traveling in this path that Modi Shah has cut out for us, thriving at the expense of other parties, in the process temporarily gaining electorally or politically, but long term cutting one's own throat? And already the BJP is beginning to resemble the Congress in the pre-Rahul Gandhi era. And nothing worse can be said about it. So the BJP needs to soul search, decide for itself whether it should go along this path or whether it should accept any course correction. But then if the course correction is to be accepted, it has to temporarily forego certain electoral gains, cheap, ready-made electoral gains at the expense of other parties. But then the temporary gains could contribute to long-term gain. If I may borrow the very beautiful but insincere slogan that was popularized during the demonetization phase, short-term pain and long-term gain. Will the BJP accept the validity of the slogan for itself and accept some short-term pain in order to ensure long-term gain? It's something you have to wait and see. But one thing I know for sure, and I have to say that upfront, it is extremely doubtful if the present strategy of thriving at the expense of other parties, particularly by poaching the most corrupt elements from these other parties and landing them all within the inner precincts of the BJP, is nearly suicidal. And the party will have to pay a huge price, if not today, tomorrow. For the time being, The weakness that is thus being introduced into the sinews of the party may be covered up with a few tricks and strategies. What they are, all of us know, I don't want to mention them. But how long these tricks and strategies can be counted upon, one does not know. Therefore, it makes good sense to sit up and think about this issue that I have very briefly introduced. So consider the history of the Christian community, the Christian faith, what has happened to it because of its spread everywhere, and see what reformative lessons the party can learn from this very clear and absolutely compelling evidence in front of all of us. All the very best. See you soon.